The college basketball experience pregame show for Thursday, November 21st on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up today with the promo code TCESGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. And we're also brought to you by Rebet. Rebet is a new social sports book available in 45 states. Download Rebet app and use code SGPN for 100% deposit match up to $100. The college basketball experience is also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing college football with the NFL and Rhythm. College football, NFL with Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And we are back here with the college basketball pregame show. Myself, Noah Beanick, hosting alongside today, the Pump Fake Pod panelists, Michael Huffer on my left and Nick Famelant on my right. Huffer, how we doing today? Thursday. We've had a nice early slate of basketball games so far today as well, with a nice appetizer of Feast Week.
Yeah, it's the best time of the year, I would say, in sports. Of course, March too, but this is probably one of my favorite times of the year. 1 and 2, 2 and 3 today, but yeah, it's been tough battling, but you can't be mad about day basketball, right? No.
Yeah, no, sir. Plenty of games to go along for us the entire day, which is these days are the best, but also the nightmares because the lines are moving 24/7, and it's even tough to get these things the night before. But that's what the pregame show for. And Nick, we were talking a little bit offline as well. Welcome back to the pregame show. How are you doing today, my friend?
Yeah, 1-1, but we've had some sweats already. That I had that Drake Miami over. That one came down to like the final minute, so that was cool. That FEU Oklahoma State over also came down to like the final couple possessions. So yeah, we've had some barn burners to start the day.
Let's go. And I mean, we got one starting right at 6:30, and it is on our outline today. You can watch it on FS1. UNC Greensboro against Indiana. Indiana currently laying 17.5. This one has kind of hovered around anywhere from 17, 16.5, 17.5 here. We'll pick this one at 17.5. The Hoosiers have the battle for Atlantis on deck here, playing Louisville next. Huffer, you're the resident Hoosier. Let us know what's going on around I guess fan base, because I know there's a big football game coming up this weekend. Is there the same amount of I don't know passion and is Assembly Hall going to be bumping here with the home game against Greensboro today?
I mean, it will be. You got your season ticket holders that are pretty faithful. It's not going to be your average game like you saw against South Carolina. Assembly Hall, I think, was really in effect. South Carolina couldn't shoot the ball. So that kind of makes me feel like there maybe is a hangover. They don't really get up for these types of games lately. With TJD's team, they kind of would drill these teams, but the last couple of years, it's been tough. SIU Edwardsville only beating them by 19. So I actually will always bet the Hoosiers to cover, but as a heart bet, I'd rather just give out the over, which makes me probably lean towards, like UNC Greensboro, because I think they can catch up and keep points on the board. But I'm gonna lay it with the Hoosiers. Of course, it's always what I got to do. It's absolute respect. They can win by 20 easily.
Nick, what are you doing in this game? I mean, it looks like a lot of people are liking Greensboro today. Is that kind of the way that you're going as well?
Yeah, I'm in with the crowd. I think 17.5 is just a tick too high. I think I am with Huff. I do kind of like the over. It's a system over that I've mentioned the couple times I've been on here. It's that top 50 in pace offense versus bottom 15 pace offense. So that meets the criteria for an over. But yeah, I would lean, or I also like Greensboro with a 17.5. I just think it's a bit too high. I think Assembly Hall will still be jumping. It might be, the pregame for their weekend, no class tomorrow, maybe get the weekend started. But 17.5 is just a little too high for me.
I think they're even looking ahead to the to IU Ohio State Saturday too. I think even the basketball team's looking ahead for that.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I bet this last night at this number 17.5, and I'm not like a huge fan of Woodson. I think that typically his Indiana teams have kind of struggled covering this large number, especially with the Bahamas on deck. And Nick already mentioned it with kind of the pace. The Spartans play at a pretty slow pace here, only 67.5 possessions per game so far this season with UNC Greensboro. I think they'll be able to maybe keep this one in check to stay within that 17.5. Game number 2 for us here on the slate for the pregame show that we're going to talk about today is Texas against Syracuse. This one's being played in Brooklyn. So a little bit of a semi-home game here for the Syracuse crowd. I still have a feeling that Texas is going to have a few alumni here in the New York area that they'll show up. But I do think Syracuse is probably going to have something like a 60-40, 65-35 crowd here. Nick, do you think that plays into the game at all here? Texas laying 10.5 points.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely will, help boost Syracuse, especially, when they go on a run or if they need a big stop, having that, crowd to cheer you on and give you that extra boost is nice. But I'm going to lay the points with Texas here. I think their defense has just really been slowing teams down. Syracuse has been really struggling from deep. Even when they get to the line, they're really not hitting their free throws, which is definitely going to be a factor. I think Texas takes care of the ball really well. They're not going to give Syracuse extra possessions. So I'd lay the points with the Longhorns.
Huffer, what are you doing in this one?
Yeah, I just don't want to put my money on Syracuse personally. I've watched them, and it's tough to watch. They have continuously stunk. I don't know what's going on with Lampkin's program, but it is a lot of points. I will give out the under. I'm going to shout out Adam Rosenberg, a good friend of mine through Twitter. 41-16, including postseason in college basketball since 2022. So under 156.5 for this game. I know Syracuse fast paced, but again, Nick, it might be an anti-system play here, but I just think the neutral effect here in the NBA stadium or arena will be a struggle for them.
I kind of like the neutral angle here as well. But I'm going to go a little bit differently. I'm going to take the side. I think this is too many points. I'm going to take the points at Syracuse. I don't personally trust Rodney Terry to win by 11 plus. In his games as a favorite so far in his career, 10-16, also 2-5 against the spread in neutral site games for Terry in Texas. And also possibly without Tremont Mark. Haven't heard any of the news on that one yet. But I think Texas not fully at 100%. And also the combination of maybe Syracuse having a little bit of momentum with the crowd could keep this one or keep them in this game here. Underdog fantasy. I like to mess around and get in on some player projection picks. So we'll go one each for the entire panel today. We'll do 3 picks, which will 6x your money, unless anybody wants to throw it in any kind of multiplier here. We'll begin with Huffer here. He gave me a double thumbs up. I think he's ready to go. Huffer, who's your pick in Underdog Fantasy tonight?
You pay someone $2 million to come, and they kind of show up a little lazy. But I'm going to go back to the Hoosiers. We're going to this angle. I promise I'm not just a homer bet, but I think there's a decent size disadvantage for UNC Greensboro, and Woodson likes those inside kind of games. I mean, they definitely have an outside perimeter in Miles Rice now, and they like playing down low more. It's time for Ballo. His line's really low. I'm not sure. I think it's sitting around 11.5 or 12.5. He easily eclipses, I think, 13 points in my opinion, just due to the size advantage. It just has been scaring me. He's kind of been looking little lazy, just not really getting back much and whatnot. But I think he kind of will get up for these lower tier teams. UNC Greensboro is a good team, but that size disadvantage I think will come into play. So I like him getting a few putbacks.
I typically like to say that he's a walking double-double, so I like the pick. Nick, what is your pick? Not what are your what is your pick for Underdog Fantasy today?
So it's a game that we're about to talk about in a bit, but I'm going to go VJ Edgecombe more than 11.5 points in the Baylor St. John's game. I think Edgecombe will be able to get to the line where he's been a pretty good free throw shooter. He's chucking up a lot of shots. There's a good amount of volume there. So I think, he'll easily eclipse 11.5.
All righty. And I'll finish off this 3-pick entry with RJ Lewis of St. John's in that exact same game. Baylor St. John's here. We'll talk about it in a second, but I'm going to take his higher than 21.5 points in rebounds. He's been the Johnny's leading scorer this season, averaging around 16.5 points per game, and also just under 8 rebounds a game. And I think that if Baylor wants to throw that junk zone at St. John's here, that's going to open them up for St. John's to play pretty aggressive on the glass. And Lewis, I'll take his higher than 21.5 points in rebounds. Game number 3 that we're talking about here is that Baylor and St. John's game. This is being played at 7 o'clock. You can watch it on CBS Sports Network in the ballroom down in the Bahamas, the Baha Mar Invitational. Nick, you targeted this one for an underdog pick. Go ahead and give us your angle for the game.
Yeah, I like Baylor here. I think St. John's, I know they got that W over New Mexico the other day, but they looked really poor from 3. I think they only made 4 threes on 18 attempts. Yeah, they shot 65% from the line, which also could be a factor. And I think Baylor is just a really efficient offense. They're 5th in adjusted efficiency. They're top 40 in assists per field goals made, so they do a really good job at dishing the ball well. They're good at getting offensive rebounds, getting second chance opportunities. So I like the Bears.
And Baylor laying 2.5 here, total 150.5. Huffer, in this one, this is going to be a great game tonight. Do you have a pick here?
Yeah, I'm going to have to piggyback on that one. I like Baylor. What a good game, head coaching wise and just talent wise. I went back and forth on this last night, but the line is pretty set, and it's been set at 2.5, regardless of whatever comes in. Which does a little scare me, kind of. I don't like those line freezes, but I think it's going to be a close game regardless. So, yeah, give me Baylor to get it done. I just like Baylor's talent. I am scared of how St. John's can score the ball, but they're coming off a good win. I think Baylor ends up getting it done in the ballroom. There's going to be a lot of points on this one too.
I tend to lean against the points, especially in the types of ballroom games that we're going to see here. Neutral court, I tend to lean towards the unders as well. I'm not picking with my lean, so that's not a pick, guys, from the Sports Gambling Podcast. But that's typically how I go in these ones. And I just think when you're going to be not quite as money from deep with all the new sight lines and weird sight lines in the ballroom, that's going to create some rebounds. And St. John's is one of the best rebounding teams in the country, very aggressive on the glass, very aggressive in their press. And I think that Baylor has had some turnover issues. They also have a couple of young guards that St. John's might be able to take advantage of with their experience in press. So I actually lean to I'm actually going to pick the Johnnies here to win the game. I'm going to take the +2.5. I think they win it against Baylor here with a little bit more of questions than answers that I think we'll get from Baylor tonight. The 4th game, we were talking pre-show, Huffer and Nick really, really like this one. Huffer even said that this might even be his favorite game of the day. Vanderbilt against Nevada in the this is the Charleston Classic. Nevada is now laying 2.5. This one's come down a little bit, total 149.5. Huffer, what's your pick in this one?
Yeah, I will say, I always say they're my favorite, and then it always, this is a team I never get right, so caveat on that, but it is my favorite, so I'm going to stand by it. I like Nevada to get it done 2.5. It's down to 2.5 now. It was sitting around 3.5 last night. A lot of steam coming in for Vanderbilt. Both teams don't turn the ball over much at all, which is a good thing. A lot of possessions are going to happen, and it's one of those maybe system over Knicks because how fast Vanderbilt runs versus Nevada. But again, in this ballroom, Noah, going back to your angle too, you just never know on these neutral sites. Sometimes it is like an LA Fitness style defense where there's just nothing in these games versus they're not hitting shots, So yeah, I really like Nevada. I think both offenses are super potent. The only thing that scares me is the only thing that scares me is Nevada's free throw percentage. If it's a close spread coming down to the line like that will be scary but Vanderbilt doesn't shoot the ball 3-point too well. Their free throws are mid-tier, and Vanderbilt just doesn't defend the three well. So my cap was that Nevada is going to shoot a lot of threes tonight, and Vanderbilt just can't defend the perimeter much. So give me Steve Alford in Nevada against Vanderbilt.
I'll stem off the handicap. I'm actually going to add a lock to the slate here tonight. I did not play this last night because the line was a little bit higher, but I had the cocktail napkin listing this game at Nevada -6 here. And I went back and I researched this. Under Steve Alford, Nevada is 10-2 straight up in MTEs. So they've been absolutely money in these non-conference tournaments. With a spread only at 2 points, I'm going to go ahead and lock this one up. Vanderbilt, in my opinion, has played the lesser competition so far this season. Maryland, Eastern Shore, SEMO, Jackson State, one win against Cal when Mark Madsen wasn't on the sideline. Nevada has beaten Washington. They're okay. Sam Houston I had as a real contender in the Conference USA this season. I really liked Santa Clara as well, and I picked Weber State to win the Big Sky. They might not be playing as well as I thought they were, but I still really think that Nevada has played some good competition, and they've ran that competition. Double-digit win in every single game. I'm going to lock up the Wolfpack here. I know Colby locked them up in last night's show. Nick, what are you going to do in this game?
Yeah, I'm just going to kind of copycat what you guys said. I think I like Nevada laying that 2.5. I think the amount of times they can get to the line, even though Huff mentioned their free throw percentage isn't that well, they do get to the line a lot. Their 3-point offense is lethal where Vandy's kind of been struggling to defend. I know both of these teams can run up the score, and I know you guys mentioned the neutral court unders, but we've seen both of those games that have been played in Charleston today already go over.
Sure.
So maybe that effect isn't hitting these teams as hard. So yeah, I would take Nevada laying the points and the over.
Good stuff. I like that game. I'm adding it to the card that I had from last night. We've got one more game before we get into the chat Q&A portion of this show. Go ahead and drop any comments on games that you would like to hear that we have not listed on the left side of the screen on our show outline for today. But the next game that we're going to talk about is Princeton and Wright State. My one note on both of these teams is like, Wright State has kind of a duo of big-time scorers, and Princeton, they kind of have an iron five, but both teams lack a little bit of depth. How do you split the two teams, Nick?
Yeah, this is a tough one for me. I looked at this one for a while. I was really looking more at the total, but if I had to pick a side in the game, I guess I would just go with the trustworthy Princeton boys here. Like, I know they play that low and slow, grindy out style of offense. And Wright State under a new coach, it could be a new system that's going to take them a while to get used to. We've seen them, lay it on their non-D1 competition, but Toledo kind of handled them, covered that game. So I'm going to go with the Princeton boys here.
All right. Huffer, what are your thoughts?
I'll battle Nick. I didn't bet this though. I went back and forth on this one as too. I'll just battle Nick though on the for sake of I just have bet Princeton, and I feel like they always just start out kind of slow, and then it just kind of picks up for them, which does scare me with that number. They beat Merrimack by 11, lost to Loyola Chicago, which I think Chicago is probably the better team on paper. Northeastern by 3. Iona by 1. They're not drilling these teams. And Wright State has not been able to shoot the ball though, like as well as they did and have in the past. And not the same Wright State team as we know, which scares me with Princeton's kind of stout defense. So I just didn't bet this, but I just think it's too many points. Wright State can cover 7.5, I think.
All right. Let's get to that chat portion of the show. We did get one comment for a game starting at 7:00. So we're going to start with that one first. And it is, where did that one go? Mike asking me about Oakland, Eastern Michigan. We talked about this one last night a little bit. We went in depth on Oakland's schedule. You know, they played Boise State, Illinois, and Kansas 3 games in a row. This is now a breath of fresh air, I think. Eastern Michigan, more their cup of tea. A level of competition that Oakland should be able to handle. It's still a very, very new team. So I want no business, playing this, but I'm going to lay the points with the Golden Grizz. Eastern Michigan the other night really, really struggled with IU Indy, and they also lost by 8 to Cleveland State. I think Cleveland State and Oakland are both similar level in the Horizon League. I think the Golden Grizz are able to win this one by a 9 or more, wherever the spread is. So I'm going to lay the points here. What do you guys think on this one? I'll start with Huffer here in our kind of location of the Indiana and Michigan states.
Yes, the glove and the boot, as I call it. You know what? I'll say this: Oakland is very unimpressive. I mean, they've just been unimpressive. But I think you made a good point last night on the show too, Noah. That Oakland, this is Campy's kind of like, all right, let's come back to form. We've played Boise State, we've played Illinois, we've played Kansas. Now we got Eastern Michigan. I like Oakland here by 9 to 12 points. So yeah, I'll lay it.
Nick, what are your thoughts?
Yep, I'm right with you guys. I think it's kind of like a sandwich spot for them, playing that gauntlet of those 3 games, and then they have Toledo on deck afterwards, which I know isn't the same as Kansas, Boise State, and Illinois, but Toledo's definitely a better team. So this is their shot to kind of get another one onto the board and get a D1 win. So I'll lay the points with Oakland.
All right, and then we've got one more that kind of needs to be answered right away here, and it is Lily B asking, should we be doing anything with the VCU in the second half here? They're playing Seton Hall, currently in a little bit of a dogfight. They're up 28-25 at the half. The second half lines here, VCU -6.5, total of 120.5 in this game. Seton Hall's money line plus 300. Have you guys caught any of this game? To me, Seton Hall has kind of done what I thought they would do, and the defense has been all right inside. VCU's had some looks from deep. They just haven't fallen for the Rams yet. That was my angle last night in locking this one up. I played it at 7.5. Right now you can get 6.5 if you didn't have anything on this game. I wouldn't keep you off of going towards that 6.5. I still like VCU to win this one a little bit comfortably come to the end, because if they get to the free throw line, I know they can hit some shots. They've got some really, really good staples that can shoot from the free throw line. Nick, your thoughts here on maybe a second half play here?
I might be the worst live bettor in human history, so
I'm in the same boat.
I don't know shit, but I would lay with VCU if you're really itching to get something in there. I think Seton Hall has been super unimpressive. Like you said, their defense is obviously good. These games are like ending with like 90 to 100 points in them, so obviously their defense is doing something correctly. But yeah, I would just take VCU if you had to put something in.
Huffer, how about you?
VCU. I actually love live betting. It's tough because you got to find within the edge of the edge, and it's tough. But if you already had a cap that you like VCU -6, -7, I would stick with it and double dip and take the 3.5 second half. Looking at the over under, I think they're going to assume this will stay fairly close enough for the foul game to occur at the end of the game. So yeah, I think that number with the foul game will stretch you ahead. But beware, I think Seton Hall plays close for the first 5-10 minutes for how slow they play.
Cody Frazier breaking some college football news in here. Bryce Underwood, the homegrown Michigan quarterback, #1 recruit in the country, possibly. I haven't seen it with my own eyes on my phone, but CBB Nick in the YouTube chat, Nick Femelon, our own guy, he's saying Bryce Underwood just flipped from LSU to Michigan. So maybe the money, after all, was talking to him. There were some rumors that he might not have wanted to be all about the money, whatever. One more that we'll do before we move along here, out of the 7:00 window. Central Connecticut and Sacred Heart. This line currently is at Central Connecticut -1.5. Come down a little bit since open. Total is 143. Money line for Sacred Heart +102. What are your guys' quick thoughts on this game?
I looked at this. I kind of do like Central Connecticut, and it's come down, which I don't really care about. I like it even more than if I'm getting a better number. We saw them get a win over St. Joe's, which was impressive. They were in there with Providence in the season opener. I know that game was kind of wonky, but yeah, I mean, Sacred Heart, we've seen them play a lot of games. They've already played 6 games. They kind of battled with Temple, but then, they haven't beaten anyone other than New Hampshire, so I haven't been super impressed with them. So I'd lay the points with Central Connecticut.
All right, Huffer, your thoughts?
Yeah, I have no clue, to be honest with you, on this one. I feel like it's a flip coin. But yeah, I like Central Connecticut State. It's the CLV that's been scaring me this 2024-25 CBB season so far. I didn't bet this, but yeah, I'll agree with you on that, Nick. I think Central Connecticut State's just the better team. Maybe Sacred Heart's a little more battle tested, playing 6 games and playing Connecticut, but only beating New Hampshire, losing to Holy Cross, Dartmouth, and Brown. Central Connecticut State's the better team.
All right. I thought this line smelled last night, and it was 3.5. Now it's down to 1.5. I tend to think that, albeit low major, but the same kind of angle. Central Connecticut State and Sacred Heart. Sacred Heart left the conference. I think 1.5 is too short. I think Central Connecticut, CCSU, for lack of pronunciation on my part, they won the league last year, and Sacred Heart, I think, noticeably got much worse. They lost a ton of production, a lot of seniors on that team last year. I think the Blue Devils have the better team. I'll lay the points now. I think last night I took the 3.5, but now that it's under a possession, I'll lay the points here. And Benedict on that pick. We'll get to the rest of the comments here on all these suggested games at the end when we don't have any sort of time pinch here. And keep the comments coming, because we will definitely get to all of the chat Q&As here at the end of the show. Let's talk about Tarleton State and Michigan. This one snuck its way on because it is on television tonight, Big Ten Network. Tarleton is 364th in the nation in turnover rate. Michigan's laying 31 with their own turnover issues. But to me, this Tarleton State team's really young, inexperienced, and they're small. I think check a couple of boxes there on the Michigan State on the Michigan side here, and they've been money from 3, top 25 nationally from 3-point land so far this season. I think this one turns pretty ugly during the second half. So that's going to be my pick. I locked it up last night. I'll lay the points with the Wolverines. Nick, your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I'm with you. Tarleton has been, I don't really even know what to say about them. Like you said, worse in the country in turnover rate. Teams are getting possessions of the second quickest in the nation against them, who Michigan already plays at a super fast rate. So they're going to get a ton of extra possessions. Michigan should be able to get to the line. Tarleton can't really rebound the ball, where Michigan gets a ton of offensive rebounds. So yeah, I think Michigan routes them.
All right. And then Huffer, your thoughts?
Yeah, triple lock here on that one, because Michigan they've been beating the piss out of teams, and I think Tarleton, I don't know, the only thing that scared me about it is how many butt kickings can you take in one sitting? I mean, are they ever going to stand up for themselves? No disrespect to Tarleton State and their whole university, but no, I the 30.5 is a lot of points, but don't be afraid of it. I want to shout out TV DBJ as well. He shouted out the team total over for Michigan on that too. I think they score 90 here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's at 89.5 right now on DraftKings. I would like that as well if I wasn't already just on the side. So I think 80. I think it's 90 plus in this one as well. So next game on our slate, let's talk about a little bit of a better one. It is St. Joe's and Texas Tech. This one's on ESPN2 tonight. And also this is the second game in that little 4-team Brooklyn MTE that also features Texas and Syracuse. If Texas wins, could Texas Tech be thinking about playing the Longhorns later on in this tournament? Possibly. Does St. Joe's have a good crowd in Brooklyn? Possibly. What are your guys' opinions on this game? Huffer, I'll start with you.
Yeah, this is one I liked last night, and I'm saying let's lay it with Texas Tech, and don't be scared of the number. I think St. Joe's is a really good team, better than that they've had. Looking at their, they're just a mid team, right? Middle tier on all the four factors Ken Pom has and other components. They're a solid team. Good win against Villanova, but this is definitely the toughest team they've faced defensively. Texas Tech has been drilling these kind of lowly teams. Wyoming, decent win on paper, you'd think, but they're just not as good as they have been either. And I'm worried about St. Joe's defense. So I think Texas Tech can squeeze by 12 to 14 and get it done. And again, Barclays under for that.
All right. Nick, what are you doing in this game?
Yeah, I think I'm with Huff, and I'll lay the points with the Red Raiders. I think their offense and defense combined are just playing really well. I know the level of competition hasn't been that high really at all. St. Joe's is definitely more battle tested. Getting that win over Villanova and then Penn back to back is definitely impressive. But yeah, I just think this Tech team is going to be able to get some shots up from three, sink it, get some second chance boards. Again, they've been really good at that. So I think I'll just, trust the better roster on paper. And, this will be the first kind of real test for them. So I'm willing to lay it and die with the Raiders.
All right. I will mention, I don't believe Federico is healthy for this one. The starting center for Texas Tech. So that's notable. I also just think that Texas Tech might play with their food here. Like we've mentioned, it's the best team that they have played up until this point of the season. And St. Joe's has competed pretty well against, Villanova, who is a clear step up in competition, and they ended up winning that game. I think Texas Tech plays with their food a little bit, and they pull away late in the second half and get the cover late. But I don't have any interest in playing this one. I would love. I'm already eyeing that Texas Tech spot against Texas myself, because I would lay anything against the Longhorns in that one. I think the next game on our slate is Tennessee and Virginia. If you don't like rock fights and low scoring, absolute just slugfests, this game might not be for you. But if you do have an interest in watching this game, CBS Sports Network, 9:00 p.m. tonight, or actually 9:30 p.m. tonight. This game currently, the line hasn't moved. Tennessee's still -12. Total's 127.5. Nick, do you have a play or any angle in this game that you like?
Yeah, this game is just going to be gross. This is a game that, unfortunately, you have to watch, but I'm going to just cry the whole time. I really don't know, what to do in terms of spread. It's just going to be so low scoring. So it makes me want to take the Cavs just because they're catching 13.5 point or 12.5 points. But I just think Tennessee is just really good. So I'll go against my better judgment and lay the points with the Volunteers.
All right. Michael, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I like Tennessee here. To give out a different bet, though, just because we're kind of all in, I feel like, on a lot of plays for the most part, which is either a good or bad sign. We'll find out tonight. But going into drill Louisville, 77-55 at Louisville, and Kelsey was getting that crowd up for a game finally, as these fans are bought back in. Tennessee not scared of the road neutral spot, but I will dive into the funk here, and I will take a backdoor over 125.5 in this game. I know that's gross. It's Virginia. Will they even score 50 points? I think Tennessee controls the pace. They shoot really efficiently, and they don't just chuck up random crap. They shoot a lot of 2-pointers in their distribution, while Virginia shoots the 3, which scares me. But can McNeely sneak in a few threes? I think this game could get to 130 for sure. It's the grossest over I would ever give out.
That is pretty gross. Hold your nose. I'm a little concerned about how many points both teams are going to score. That was my angle coming to this. I don't know if Tennessee could possibly score enough to cover 12. This was a very iffy pick for me on last night's show. I'm still going to end up sticking with Tennessee. I think overall they do have just a couple of dabs more of offensive talent with Zakai Ziegler and Chaz Lanier maybe coming on in the last couple of games, rather than Virginia just kind of being the one-man show offensively with Isaac McNeely. So I'm going to lay the 12 with Tennessee. My pick on the total, if I were to give one out, I would still go with that ballroom under 127.5. So I might be battling with Huffer there on that look. We have two more games. The penultimate game. I like the duking it out here. The penultimate game that we're going to talk about today is Oregon State. We got the Civil War in the state of Oregon tonight on ESPN Plus in the final window at 10 o'clock p.m. Currently, you can find the Beavers plus 6.5, the total 140, the money line plus 240. But if you're on the Ducks side, minus 6.5, minus 6 is out there currently. Nick, your thoughts on the Civil War?
I think I'm going to take the points with Oregon State here. Oregon has just been playing kind of slow. I know they've been able to put up points on the board, but we saw it with that Portland game. They really struggled to come out in that first half, and I think Portland won that first half. Portland was up at half going into halftime, and then they forced OT and got it done in OT. But Oregon State's defense, again, level of competition so far hasn't been very pretty, but their defense is definitely playing. They're holding teams, almost every D1 team they've played almost under 50. Utah Tech got 57, but they still won that game by 23. So I think this is going to be a gross battle here that's going to go under as well. So I like catching 6.5.
All right. And I'll stem off of your handicap because last night I locked this up. I took the Beavers on the money line in this spot. You mentioned it. The defense has looked pretty good so far this season, but the competition has been a little shaky. You know what? The pace has been consistent against all of these teams. Oregon State's played at the 7th percentile of pace, which is very, 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 very slow pace of play, and they're going to be the home team. They're going to have the crowd. It's a pissed off bunch. I know Tinkle was very, very enthusiastic about, the Pac-12 splitting up last year, and he was not a fan of it. Obviously, if you're going to be on the wrong end of the stick there, you are going to be pretty pissed off. But I think Oregon was one of the main, the final stab in the back to a lot of these teams when the Pac-12 split up. Oregon and Washington jumping into the Big Ten late. And he's fared super well against Dana Altman and the Ducks lately. So I'm going to take the money line with the Beavers in this spot. I think it's a little bit of a hornet's nest up there in Corvallis. Huffer, do you agree with me, or are you going to go against both myself and Nick?
Just to point this out, in this game specifically, the underdog has covered 7 times. Now, I'm imagining that's Oregon State 7 times in a row for the most part on history, maybe outside of 1 or 2 years, or like a home short favorite. I'm gonna battle you guys here. I think Oregon State shoots a lot of threes. Their distribution is going to come a lot from threes, and Oregon can defend the three. I am nervous about Oregon State's defense. Both of these teams really haven't played Oregon played Troy. They played UC Riverside, better mid-major teams than I believe Oregon State did. I watched Oregon State somehow cover. I was on Oregon State 13.5 against Cal State Fullerton, and they were down, I think, 9 or 10 at the end of the first. So they kind of live and die by this 3. This is my least favorite number to lay, but I will battle you guys. I just think Oregon will end up getting it done randomly, and this 7 streak of underdogs comes to an end for this. It can't always go on forever, No.
All right. I respect it. Good luck to you, my friend. I hope you come out on the losing side, though. Also, in this 10 p.m. window, to finish up our outline of games here on the left side, Memphis travels to San Francisco. They're playing a semi-road game. This is being played inside the Warriors arena. But San Francisco laying 2 now. I mean, last night they were catching 2 points. This is totally crossed over 0. I was all over this on last night's show as well. I'm also on the money line with the Dons. Memphis has UConn on deck, and I really like the way that San Francisco's played so far this season. And no matter how you want to spin it, the Tigers have looked all right to start the season, but I don't trust the locker room over there under Penny Hardaway. And I had circled this game as a little bit of a clunker right before Maui. A lot of guys, after the plane trip to here to San Francisco, might just think about wanting to get out to the islands onto the beach. And I think that the Dons are good enough to be able to take advantage of this spot. And give me San Francisco. It's -2 now. I still like it. I think they win this by 2 possessions. Hit some free throws at the end of this game to cover. Huffer, where are you going to go in this one? The Tigers, interestingly, are now a underdog in this matchup.
Yeah. You know what, Noah? We were really aligned earlier, but at night we're going to be battling. So see you in the TCE chat tonight for pick'ems. I will take Memphis just because, I loved San Francisco last night, and then I went to bed and just was like, man, I'm always wrong about Memphis. And maybe that's the same cap I had about the Nevada. But seeing the CLV, I kind of like the value in taking Memphis plus money. It's not the same home game at the Chase Center, so it's not your usual San Francisco crowd. That's a tough place to play for how condensed that stadium is, and it really is a tough place to just go in and shoot the ball. Memphis, best 3-point shooting team efficiently in the country right now. Given they've played some okay defenses in Missouri, UNLV, Ohio, but they've been kind of drilling these teams. I think San Francisco's got a big chip on their shoulder the way they're playing, but Memphis seeing maybe that it's a dog. I don't trust Penny Hardaway, so it is my least favorite bet, but it is a plus money that I will not be afraid of to take. So I will go with Memphis and battle you for the rest of the night.
All right, Nick, split the difference here. What's your side?
Oh man, I'm nervous now. This is a really tough game, honestly, because like you said, pseudo home game. San Fran got a really good W against Boise State at home. They beat them by double digits. Memphis got a road win at UNLV, home win against Missouri to open the season. So their wins are good. But yeah, I hate Penny Hardaway. I really don't want to trust Hardaway, a Hardaway coach team. But oh man, they do look good. I think I'll just take San Fran just due to the neutral, and they're also still tested and they looked good. Trust them to keep up with Memphis. I know they're going to run up the pace on the Tigers side of things and, try and get an up and down type of game. But we've seen San Fran be able to do that. They've scored over 80 points in every single game that they've played. So they're not afraid to, kind of get into that type of game. So yeah, I'll take the Dons.
Yep. And this is also always the worst feeling about a pregame show is when you pick a game that starts at 6:30 while you're going to be live. And then the team that you pick against goes on a 19-5 run to open up the game. The basketball is a game of runs. Just, play it out. Let this thing go a full 40 and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, currently 19-5 and Huffer has a big old smile on his face, putting on the Indiana hat. But yeah, Memphis, San Francisco, that brings a conclusion to our game outline for today's pregame show. The next question and answer portion of the pregame show is brought to you by Rebet. Rebet is a brand new social sports book available in 45 states. A huge market of betting opportunities are available on the Rebet app. Easy to use and great for people in states where traditional sports books may be restricted. Download Rebet in the App Store and use the promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $100. That's Rebet, promo code SGPN. All right, let's hit on the final Q&As of the show. We have two comments asking about a Washington State and Eastern Washington game analysis here, both from Cannabis Capper and Fly Kicks 516. Our buddy Capper, catch him on the pregame shows twice a week as well. But E-Dub and Washington State, I'll start with you, Huff. What are your thoughts in this one? Another late slate game here as the Eagles travel, or this is in Seattle. So they're playing the Cougars at 9:30 p.m.
Yeah, too many points. I think this is like a rivalry game. I mean, I wouldn't say a rivalry game, but I mean, just for how close that these two are in proximity. This is a total backdoor spot that's open and with 14. Did I see 15.5 or am I making that up? Yeah, fake line, 14.5. It looks like I'm seeing. So I just think that's too many points. This Washington State team's pretty good. Beat Northern Colorado. They hung in there against Iowa. New face. They're playing with a chip on their shoulder, kind of like your guys' cap with Oregon State. And I'll be honest, this Eastern Washington team is just not impressed me. I bet on them, and I've been wrong both times. So this one's the one I'm feeling right about. I think it's too many points.
Right. My angle on last night's show was that, David Riley is the one really connected with both of these schools, the new head coach at Washington State, former head coach at Eastern Washington. I think he's the guy that Moore doesn't want to lose in this game. Mac thought, he might be coaching tight in this one, but I think that it's more of the guys are going to play well under him and know that this is a big spot for the old ball coach. And I think they get a good lead in this one, but I think Huffer's right, and that the back door is a very real opportunity. That's why I'm not playing this. But last night it was at 12, and I laid it with the Cougars. I still am going to choose to lay the 14 with my pick here, but I definitely don't love this. Nick, what is your angle in this matchup?
Yeah, this is tough for me to pick. Like you had already mentioned, Riley leaving Eastern Washington to go to Wazoo. Now we saw when he was, how we're seeing now with Wazoo, that he kept that pace up at Eastern Washington those last couple of seasons. So they were one team in the Big Sky that I actually watched because they liked playing that up and down type of game. They're not doing that so much this year, but they're sticking in these games. Like they only lost to Missouri by 7. They beat Seattle running up 93 points. I do think they're going to be able to try and hang in there. It might come down to a backdoor, late, couple, layups, free throws, whatever it may be. But yeah, I think it's just ticked up a little bit too high for me to not take the Eagles.
All right. Our last game comment. We'll get to another comment, question and answer in this question and answer portion of the show after this. But this one comes from Trevor Vandenbosch Jones, aka TVDBJ. Grambling is plus 23 against New Mexico today. He says New Mexico can't shoot free throws, and Grambling's been pesky, but it's the pit. Grambling turnover issues, and New Mexico off a loss is a little bit scary. Good points for either side if you want to pick either side here. What are you guys going to do in this one? Nick, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, like you said, New Mexico coming off that loss at St. John's, Richard Pitino getting the "Who's Your Daddy" chance, maybe a little, upset about that. But yeah, I think going into New Mexico and playing there is always a little scary, especially with these Mountain West teams at home. We know that's where they like to get the job done and get these dubs. So, yeah, I'm not going to bet it for real, but I'll lay the points with New Mexico. I think, like you had mentioned already, Grambling with the turnover issues, they're really poor at getting offensive rebounds, second chance opportunities. Their defense at least isn't, too bad. I think they'll be able to, like Trev said, be pesky and give New Mexico a little bit of trouble, but I think in the end, New Mexico will run away with it.
Yeah, this was my angle from last night's show. Grambling 362nd in turnover rate, New Mexico 17th in forcing turnovers per possession. Yeah, I think the Lobos with the home crowd advantage are going to be able to pull away in this one late. Huffer, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think this is the one that they lay. They only beat Nichols by 7 at home, and then neutral against UCLA, and they beat Corpus Christi by 21. Corpus Christi's a pretty good team. I don't know if that was a backdoor. I can't remember, or if they were just consistently up the whole time. But this is one that they scheduled to just roll. Grambling, though, they're on their first road spot before they go to USC, Cal Poly, and then Pepperdine as well too. So they got a lot of out west games that they're preparing for and getting out west for the winter. So Trevor's angle and maybe getting up for that, and they've been pesky, but I'm not. They haven't drilled a team at the pit yet. They got to drill one. Next third.
One last comment in this Q&A portion. This one's directly for Huffer. Mike in the YouTube chat asks, "What's a game like at Assembly Hall? It's one I've never been to but needed to." Picked up on the fact that you were an IU fan, and just as a passionate college basketball watcher myself, this place is always lit, not normally ever, half empty like some my own arena in fandom. But Assembly Hall is one of the best in our game. And what is a typical experience like there, Huffer?
It's unlike anything else. I mean, it's biased, but to see a game there up close too. I mean, there's not really a bad seat. People say the balcony's horrible because it's so high. But when you're down low, you're in it. It's an amazing place to see a game. Just the atmosphere itself. You got fans that are 80, 90 years old that are dying to see a Hoosiers win and bring back those glory days. So you have even the older populace, getting in, climbing up on a timeout and getting up and just doing the dance, doing the beat. Every timeout has something going on. It feels like it's undescribable, to be honest. And you get the chills. And I think the fans are constantly bringing it back. The students, in my opinion, have been kind of lacking the last few years is what they've done. I think the old folks have been better supporters and getting up. But yeah, Mike, it's an amazing. I highly recommend it if you can go and get a ticket. Any game, even like a normal random game on a Wednesday night at 7:00 against a lowly Big Ten team or even a UNCG team, you're gonna hear the crowd effect come into play, and it's an amazing place to see the game. I want to go to the Fog. That's on my next list, but I think that and probably Cameron, Nick are the three that can compare to just constantly being lit like that. I mean, it's awesome, and the Hoosiers are probably the worst team of the three.
No, you're only telling the truth with all of that statement. I'll say that. Let's talk about the best bets section, and it's of course brought to you by mybookie.ag. We're brought to you by mybookie.ag, and SGPN started out with MyBookie, and now we're back. Check out the new and improved website, which is great on mobile, plus props for every game and the live dealer casino. Even new early cash out options. Head to mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN for 100% deposit match up to $1,000 plus a $10 casino chip. That's mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN. The best bets section, guys. You can list off however many you want, or just keep it to the games that we listed. It does not matter. List off your card, list off your favorite few plays. Whatever is your flavor, go ahead and share it with the folks. I'll start left to right. Huffer, you lead us off.
Yeah, I'm going to go Nevada. I'm going to try to give out 2 or 3 here. Definitely Nevada is probably my favorite play of the night, as we talked about on the show earlier. And then I will I kind of talked myself into a little Memphis action against you guys, so I'll be the villain of the night, okay? And somehow this road spot works out for them. It's definitely not a spot I normally bet, but I don't know, something just got talked into me, and the CLV is making me like it more. So, and the Hoosiers, they're already playing, right? So no, yeah. I'm kidding.
They're running it up already. It looks like the rest of my card, Michigan. I have them minus 31. I got it at 30.5 last night, but it's only a half point. So 31 for the Wolverines. Oregon State, take the points and the money line. That's what I'm on. San Francisco, last night it was plus money, but now they're laying 2. I still like it. That would be my pick in that one. Cal, minus 16.5 against Air Force. This is one that was strictly a cocktail napkin play, a fade on Air Force, a buy on Cal. It was listed at 22. I got it at 16.5. I would take it up to 22 in that one. And then the one addition that I had was the Nevada angle from Huffer, and also just Steve Alford with the Wolfpack is 10-2 straight up in MTEs, and we're only laying 2 points under possession. I'll take that every day. Finish us off here, Nick. List your card for us.
My favorite one that's on my card is Niagara plus 15.5 against Kent State. I believe it's come down a little bit. I think it's 13.5. I would still take it, but both of these teams play slow and gross basketball. So there's not going to be a ton of scoring in this one. But Niagara, we've seen them. We just watched them play Bowling Green the other night. They sneaky backdoored that one off of like a technical foul at the very, very end. But Niagara is a team that is just looking to rip threes. That's kind of where all of their points are coming from. They're fourth in the country in point distribution coming from three. 49.5% of their points are coming from deep. They're 18th in the country in three-pointers attempted per game, and Kent State's three-point defense isn't the best. So I think Niagara will be able to take advantage of that and stick within the number. So that's one. And then the only other one I have on my card is Mercer, South Carolina, under 152, I believe I got 152.5. Mercer plays an up-tempo type of game, but their defense actually slows teams down a lot, and South Carolina is already a team that isn't really looking to push the pace. So I think we're going to get a slow game. I think South Carolina will be able to keep them from scoring other than Indiana. So North Florida, South Carolina State, Towson, all those teams have scored 71 or fewer, which I don't think Mercer will even be able to get up to that. So I think that one's going to go under.
Michael, go ahead and plug your social media and anything that you have planned upcoming for the week here.
Yeah. Thanks, Noah. First off, just thanks. Always a pleasure joining you guys and talking either in the chat or on video. You can follow me at Michael_Huffer3. We do the Pump Fake Pod pretty sporadically, about 3 to 4 episodes a night or a week based on the slate. Nick's a host as well too. And other, as we know in the chat, Trevor Vandenbosch Jones. So definitely give us a follow there. I'll be going to the IU Ohio State game this Saturday, so I may not have as many as I normally do on Saturday for college basketball, but I'll try to get a couple out. So and hopefully our Hoosiers quit getting disrespected.
Nick, how about yourself? Go ahead and plug anything that you have upcoming this week.
Yeah, I've kind of laid it out. My is just at CBB Nick, but make sure to follow at Pump Fake Pod as well, where me, Huff, and Trevor do a show, like he said, a couple times a week. But yeah, thanks for having us on. Appreciate you and everyone at the TCE. We really appreciate it.
You guys do YouTube episodes, right? Ryan Hasty asking in the chat. Yeah.
Yep. When we go live. Channel? Yeah, we'll go live and it'll be on YouTube. We'll make sure to tweet it out on all of our Twitters, the page Twitter, and Trevor uploads it onto Apple Pods and Spotify, I believe, as well.
Awesome. Good stuff. Yeah. Thank you guys for joining us on the college basketball experience, previewing these games. Thank you, everybody else, for tuning into this. We had over 400 of you guys tune in across all platforms. So it was a really nice day. And the basketball's lived up to it so far today. Let's go ahead and watch the 7 o'clock slate and everything else after. Have a good luck with everybody's bets. Let it ride.